Hey gang, this is Dr. Hugh, and what I want to do is just intro this video of Sherri, who's an amazing human being, very powerful spiritual human being that recovered, and it was just a huge, powerful success story with a lot of depth and a lot of healing potential and a lot of healing message. Like, I didn't do any of the healing. You did the healing. Like, the spiritual being with that God put in your body did the healing. So like, we just need to figure out what was interfering with your God's given ability to heal and function.
And for me, obviously, it was, it was prescription medicines. I'm sorry to say, you hate to really come to that realization, but over the course of the years, like I told you, probably for about the last 5 years, progressively, each time I had taken either the Levaquin or the Cipro, what I didn't realize is that I knew that it was helping significantly what would be normally like a sinus infection is what I would be treated for. And then that component would go away. And then about day 5, day 6, I would feel then like something else transpired, meaning flu-like symptoms, like I was very fatigued, things that weren't normal with a sinus infection. And so over the last 4 or 5 years, I would say that each time it became progressively harder to overcome that. But I did not realize that. I had no knowledge. I had no education. So I was unable to put those two together. So eventually time would pass and, you'd get over it and then you would just start again. So for me, last September, which was September of 2019, I again had seasonal sinus infection, go to the primary care physician, and I'm treated with Levaquin, 750 milligrams for 10 days. And on and again, same thing happened. I just started to progressively feel weaker. I would feel tired. I had flu-like symptoms. And then on about day 5, day 6, one afternoon, I thought, extremely fatigued. I'm just going to lay down for a little while. And immediately after laying down, both of my arms became completely immobile.
Wow, you couldn't move them.
Could not move. I'm lying on the, and luckily I had, we laugh about it now, but luckily I had my phone kind of laying on the couch with me. And I tell people it was sort of like that little T-Rex where you're kind of like trying your best to get. So I've managed to get my phone. And I text my husband who works from home and he's in the other room. And I said, something is wrong. I can't move my arms. Please come in here. And again, now we're like, he texts back and he said, are you seriously texting me from the other room? And I said, Siri, like this is serious.
Yeah, like no joke.
And I had also texted a friend and she was terrified that I was having a stroke. She started going through the stroke questions.
Yeah.
And I said, I can feel my face. I can feel everything else. And I said, I'm not having a stroke. I was convinced of that.
Yeah.
But I said, I just simply lost all mobility. And then the pain started to radiate from the rotator cuff all the way down to the fingers, the hands. And so immediately we were off to the emergency room. And once we get to the emergency room, they're like, well, we think we know what's wrong. We're not positive. They want to do some blood work. We might do some x-rays. Long story short, many hours there and no x-rays, some blood work, came in and said, they were actually kind of excited about it. They said, we know what this is, but we rarely see it. And so they said that it was essentially, they were agreeing that the medication had been poisoned by the medication, and it had essentially gone, through the tendons into my rotator cuffs, and it was bilateral. So the bilateral piece was what they were calling the rarity, is that they normally see it on one side or the other.
And well, they acknowledged that then, huh, Sherri?
They absolutely did. And the interesting thing is I went as far as to pull up because later on, as you know, that gets downgraded. It gets, as you go from physician to physician to physician, that diagnosis then changes.
Yeah.
And so I actually went as far as to ask for a copy of, or go on my portal and also ask for a written copy of my diagnosis, because I said, someday I'm going to need this in writing. I just feel it. And because I was told at the hospital, I said, okay, what's our treatment plan? We know what the diagnosis is. What do we do? And immediately they said, we cannot treat you because this is a long-term condition. And essentially said,
good luck.
My discharge, funniest thing ever, my discharge instructions were rest and don't use your arms.
Okay.
Okay, that's
right.
Totally doable. I can spend the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah, it's real workable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many, just for the audience, because you're gonna be helping, hundreds and hundreds of people, because you saw me online through some kind of video content or something like that too, right?
Yes. I saw you. First of all, my husband and I started a lot of research when we decided that just to lay down and do nothing was not an option.
Yeah.
That there had to be, I could not be the only one in the world that had experienced this. So we did begin to do individual research. We'd come together and we'd say, hey, I found this, and actually found two things, a testimony video that you had online. So that's why I think these are absolutely so important, because they do make a difference. Yeah. And the second thing that I, then began to find links of yours that led to other things. And so, just started clicking on a lot of the videos, and immediately it is, hey, that's my story.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the power of it. I just try and put content out there to help people connect the dots and like try and guide people. Mm-hmm. That's really the only thing I really try and do.
Yes.
And then people find it and then they want individual help, which is great. So how many, just the audience knows, how many times do you say over the course of your past history, would you say that you took these fluoroquinolone like class of drugs?
Wow. I would say over the last 20 years, an average, not every year, twice a year, but on average, 2 times a year for 20 years.
You said 2 times a year?
Mm-hmm.
2 times a year for 20 years. That's 40 different times. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's way a lot. So yeah, just so when we started working together, just maybe describe the audience, like all the different things that were going on with your body, because it was just more than just like your shoulders. Right.
So as obviously the shoulders were the worst thing. And so I immediately, back to the primary care, and I said, do we need an MRI? I read terrible things about, hey, you could, just pop something, just literally moving. Like I couldn't, like in the beginning, I couldn't shower myself. I couldn't wash above my waist. So the hair, so my husband, it was just incredible that when you can't operate, you can't function that way.
And it looks like, you have beautiful hair. So I'd imagine like, I can tell you like your hair, right?
I love my hair.
I can tell you love your hair. Like it's obvious you love your hair. I can tell you love your hair. It's obvious, right? Yeah. So, when you can't take care of your hair and you love your hair, that's like significant problem.
Right. And to have to, continually, just depend on that. And just each day that goes by that you are not self-sufficient just does something to your psyche. It begins to work on you. And my husband is more than willing, always has been.
Yeah.
And, so the support that I had within him was totally amazing. I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I could not have gotten through it without him. And so other things, we moved to, physical therapy. My primary care was convinced that the physical therapy would get range of motion back. We'd be moving again. I'd be able to shower. I'd be able to care for myself. So I spent 4 months, 4.5 months
wow.
in therapy, and I went an average was 2, but some weeks 3 times a week. And did it improve range of motion? Yes, I think by proxy, just simply because I hadn't been moving,
right? Yeah,
and then I was. But now that we know, that wasn't the problem. It was
right.
it was an internal, from the inside out problem.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so about 2 months into therapy is when I found you in January, and just had listened to all your research, read as much as I possibly could, and then said, hey, the therapy is not, it's helping, but it's not. And so, you're just lining the pockets, because it was costing me a fortune to go, 3 times a week. And I said, once again, this is not the answer. I also saw, in the course of that time, I was sent to an orthopedic. And so, it's interesting. I said, I have props today, because you can see these bottles are full.
Okay.
And again, I knew this was not the answer. So this was, doctor number 1, which was an orthopedic, and said, I can't fix what I can't see.
Yeah,
so,
that's interesting.
So
I remember you saying that.
I said, okay, so where do we go?
You can't see your spirit either, but it's there.
And you know what? You can help a sad or a hurting spirit, as you and I both know.
Yeah.
Because we are living proof of that. Mm-hmm. So that was visit number 1. Next recommendation was neurologist.
Okay.
And
this is great. I mean, this is what people go through.
Yeah. And, actually this might be primary care to start with, was maybe a muscle relaxer, because, let's relax. So, kind of the point to that I began to learn is that it wasn't inside out. And then when you and I started up in January, of course, you had your regimen, which we didn't do the standard trio. We left out the brain octane. So for me, it was just, the magnesium and the fish oil. And I had been taking the magnesium prior to even meeting with you, because I'd read it online.
Yeah.
And so about 2 weeks into that, I had already seen what I thought in my mind, was, hey, something's different. Mm-hmm. And my gut began to react normally, as you and I had talked before. I had been taking Miralax daily for years.
Yeah.
For years with, minimal, sometimes to no success. And so once I switched over to the magnesium, I have not had Miralax in 8 months now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
go ahead.
So, we started with that regimen. Then, we did the blood work up, those kind of things. You reached out and said, hey, let's tweak some stuff. We did the blood pressure, the HCL, that particular test, that was a game changer.
Yeah.
Because once again, we're healing from the inside out. So we get the gut happy. Once the gut's happy, then we start working on the brain. So for me, you asked about other things, brain fog.
Tell us about that, because here you have on your initial paperwork, you put like shoulder problems, fatigue, brain fog, quality of life and quality of sleep. So go over the brain, because a lot of people have this brain thing happening. And I actually think this medication drives into the brain tissue and affects your mitochondria.
Absolutely, could not agree more. So for me, and you don't notice it because it's such a slow transition. Yeah. And you tell yourself, I'm not well, so I am going to be sluggish. But then what happens is that you find yourself returning back to normal, but then you're still sluggish. And so you're kind of in that little, in that back and forth. And again, once looking at your information, so many things begin to click. I'm like, I didn't even know what brain fog was. Yeah. Right. The headaches, you just think, I'm tired.
It's normal.
And for me, I haven't worked in 3 years. So I'm like, okay, I'm not stressed.
Yeah.
What is it? And why am I not sleeping? I am the best sleeper in the world up until this.
Yeah.
And, I'm not sleeping. I'm irritable. I snap at everybody. And so, yeah, the brain fog, not being able to remember things, being, frustrated, headaches, lots and lots of headaches, a lot of tension in the back of your neck and your shoulders. So obviously that did not help me, because from the shoulders, then it ran down again into the rotator cuff. So yeah, I think brain fog. And so for me, brain fog, the arms and the gut, we're like, huge. Okay, we've got those 3 problems. Never really had any of the other tendon aches, pains, praise Jesus, no neuropathy issues. That was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
So no neuropathy. And again, just step by step, just following your protocol and finding, I think for me, finding where those, where those thresholds are, where your happy medium's at.
Yeah.
And once I was able to find those in the regimen, I think probably, I remember the second visit or talk that we had, you said, even on the phone, I hear a difference in your voice.
Yeah.
And I had not recognized that. And my husband was sitting beside me, and we hung up from the call. And I said, is he just saying that? and my husband just looked at me and he said, no, he's like, it's there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that I was still kind of in that lull where, I was unable to recognize that things were actually happening.
Right.
So, from that point forward, it just, it just took off. And it was, for me, I've seen the testimonies and I've seen people years, some people never recover.
Yeah.
And, again, for me, just that faith, that trust, in the Lord, that he is going to ultimately, he's the ultimate physician. He is going to heal me. And tons and tons of my community, my faith community came around me. Well, basically it was awesome. They delivered meals 3 times a week for 2 months. And so I was able to take that time to heal, and, prayers just overabundant. And so literally taking the 2 of those from within, knowing what I know to be truth, and just, just believing that was actually going to be the outcome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah, that's so, yeah. So how would you, just to like, so how are you doing now, I guess? So what's happened with your constipation, your brain fog, your arms, just so people can have a little, like, where is Sherri now?
So it was interesting. Earlier today, I was outside. So Sherri I love plants. I love to garden. Prior to this, I was unable to do any of that. So today, even, prior to this video, I was outside and I was transplanting pineapples. Like I'm kind of in the pineapple business. And so I had that to do today. So that was lifting bags of potting soil. Yeah. That was, using a shovel and having your hands. So today I am probably, if not, I'm the same person that I was prior to, if not better than. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just simply because. So Sherri now, I'm back to, I've always taken care of our yard. I do the yard work. All of that had stopped. So I am doing everything that I was prior to, and actually more things now.
Yeah.
And
yeah, some people are better off after the whole program because they had all these things that they weren't doing right or congruent with other, spiritual healing laws, and now they're doing them right. Now they're just like better. Right. And you think about, and again, absolutely everything 100% natural. There's no prescriptions. There's no prescriptions. And I think that
for me, my lifestyle, try as best as we can to eat healthy, to do healthy, to be outside. We love outdoor activities. As I told you back in February, we actually purchased a camper because we're still a little, COVID bound. My husband can work from anywhere. And that has been amazing. I can now contribute to setting up, to breaking down. We can go hiking. We can enjoy the things that we were intended to do. And so again, life is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So your brain fog's better, your constipation's better, like your energy levels, your sleeping better, all those things are better.
Absolutely. And, again, brain fog was probably.
For sure. What would you say to, someone's gonna be watching this video, they're gonna be up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., praying for an answer, looking for an answer, and they come across Sherri's video. What do you want to share to those people that sometime in the future that may be seeing you right now and are desperate for an answer? Just share your thoughts to them, or what you'd want to say to that person.
Well, the first thing would be is that I want to thank you. That statement that you made, where where there's hope, there's healing, and that is 100% true. I'm living proof of that, and I want people to to know that it's possible, that it can happen, and it's not easy. And I know that every case is different, but there are just so many components that you understand. You have dedicated your life, your practice to helping people that nobody else believed. And there comes a time in this process where you truly believe that, and other people have said it in their videos, that that you're crazy, and you're not. There's absolutely, you've done nothing wrong. I think that's the first thing that I feel like. The shame, you felt the shame, you felt like there was no answers. People don't believe you, you're crazy. And absolutely none of that is true. And so in order to be able to get over that piece of it, what I would tell people is that they absolutely should place their trust in you and come to you for whatever help that you can offer them. And I've seen so many different testimonies of different types, and it's not just cookie cutter. No. You absolutely pour into that particular individual, and that's the difference. It doesn't matter what part of the body it is. And again, we do come back to that spiritual piece, that that we do have to, for me, to believe in a higher being that I know is a substantial part to it, but I also know that, and have tremendous amount of gratitude to you for doing the work that I would never have been able to do for myself and for other people. So if there's ever any doubt, I tell people, don't take that leap of faith. Absolutely.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. It's I believe people that have been damaged, and my dad died in the medical system on a bunch of medications. So I just stand for like a beacon of truth. I really feel like like if people want truth, I try and deliver. I'm a very truthful person. I try and deliver truthful information, because once you find a piece of truth, you got to really hang on to it, because to be honest with you, that there's not much truth out there. You go on, and there's a lot of lies about a lot of things that are happening. And once you find a peaceful truthful information, you got to hang on to it and like bring it in and take it on.
And absolutely with that. And the unfortunate piece is that sometimes the things that are not truth are really actually coming from our medical community, which is even more sad, to me. Luckily, I had physicians that I had dealt with in the past, so they knew me as a person. And the fact that they were honest and upfront with me and just said, like I said, I can't fix what I can't see. As an orthopedist, I appreciated that. He showed me the x-rays. We saw nothing. Yeah. You know, the neurologist, same thing. You know, he's like, he was intrigued, actually. He took your information down. He had never really heard of this. Again, people, you know, in the medical community that are so unaware of this, that it's just such a national tragedy. And so he took the information and we chatted for really most of our visit, because he could see immediately that there was no neurological damage. And so we just chatted about who you were, what you did, how I found you. And he's really like a research nerd. And he took the information and he said, I'm actually gonna look into this. And he said, because you can't be the only one.
No, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Any final words, Sherri?
Oh, other than, you know, again, other than just thank you, you know,
you're welcome.
Just from the bottom of my heart. It just, from hopeless to hopeful. And, you know, just like, I know that you literally didn't give me my life back, but you had the ability. I tell people that I appreciated so much that you used your God-given ability and your knowledge to heal me from a different state. You know, we are states apart. We've never met. You've never laid hands on me. And yet I never once felt like I wasn't there personally with you, that care was specifically for me. And just, you know, that made all the difference to me, all the difference in the world. So
thank you.
Yeah, I said I wasn't going to be emotional, but it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I'm crying too. So
there's
two of us.
Kind of hard not to be, because it literally, I tell people, is life altering. And I know, again, people that saw me a year ago don't see the same person at all. And so I actually, you know, think about it. And when we're told to consider our trials and our suffering joy, I've always found that to be sort of, how do you do that? And I literally think that there was a purpose in all of this for me. And I am actually thankful for the experience, because I am a much better person on the backside now. And just totally amazing experience. And I actually would not trade it. I would not go back. And I tell people I don't ever want to be there again.
Right.
But the initial experience, I wouldn't trade anything again. I would do it all the same.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. God bless, Sherri. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.